How does that look? Probably terrible, right? Oh no, it doesn't look bad. As far as I can see, unless I'm wrong. Let's see. Oh no, it's just a little smaller. That's fine. We'll go with that. Right, you guys can see it, right? Okay. I wish these were kind of named, but we'd know who they are anyway. I'll start with Zofia just straight off the bat. She's top of the list, like S tier. She's not on here right now, but this operator. So yeah, Zofia at the top of the list, S tier. I'll go through them in order, I believe. So Alibi. Alibi can do quite a bit. For defense missions, she's really good. Just generally distracting the enemy. Solid weaponry, the Alder and the faster reflexes perk means she can reload her weapons really quickly. I think she belongs in B tier more than anything. And that's simply because her gadget is not used for stealth in any way. As soon as you use her gadget, the enemies are alerted. That's her biggest downfall. And you don't really want the enemies alerted on missions like Nest Cartography, Rescue, what else? Biopsy, stuff like that. Biopsy she's actually okay at though. But it still means that more enemies will spawn. You kind of want to clear out the nests first, if it's a mission that requires you to do so. But she's just going to alert everyone in the zone, so that's why I would say she's a B tier. Let's go with Capital. Capital, honestly, I think is C, just because he doesn't have much going for him. Like, the crossbow is great. The crossbow is really good. It can control an area, kind of like smoke. The smoke has a little few more benefits, which I'll talk about in a second. He can cover an area. He can also cover just generally like sightlines. So if a spiker's shooting at you, you shoot a smoke between that spiker and your squad. That spiker will then stop shooting. That's okay, but you also can't see through that smoke yourself. That's why he's in C tier. There's no way you can actually see through using his gadget as your own squad unless you have someone scanning them. So he's very reliant on someone else, like an intel operator, which is why I think he belongs in C tier. He also doesn't have much perks going for him. I believe he is one of the lower armored operators as well. So that's why I'm going to leave him there. Doc. Now, Doc, oof. Between A and S, I think it might be S. So I think he might be next to Zofia, probably in front of Zofia, actually. Just because the stim pistol, like the operator recharge with the stim pistol, is so useful. You can keep healing and healing and healing your squad. So Doc is a really great operator. Generally using his kit. Music's a bit loud. Yeah, I did see. Generally using his kit, he can heal people between subzones. Like if you have an ability kit around, he can heal people between subzones, which means your teammates will all be overhealed or have the health that they lost straight back after each mission. Finding an ability kit on mission even better. He can just overheal himself. He can self-revive based on the amount of stims he has. He doesn't require armor to do that. So you can easily take another utility with him. He may be on the slow side, but that doesn't really matter. Take something like a scan gadget or a stun grenade to compensate for that. I wouldn't take something like Nitros on him because he's a slower operator. But generally he's just got solid weapons, solid kit, and he can hold his own. Ella, honestly, or her Ella charges charge so quickly, and she has what 4 at level 10, as total amount of 4 at level 10. They charge quickly, and they're just fast and very versatile. You can use them for defense, or you can use them really aggressively, and you don't have to hold back because they charge so quickly. It's 60 seconds on a charge. Generally just a useful operator and great for a lot of missions. Can work stealth or aggressive loud. And she can generally take out a lot of the bigger enemies other operators will struggle with. For dealing with Apex, she can easily just put down an Ela charge. She stunned them then for 10 seconds because that's what her level 2 perk does. It allows the stuns to stun an Archean for 10 whole seconds, which is crazy. And yeah, she could just deploy 2 Nitro cells and an Apex is gone. Like, really strong if she can get close to an Apex. Really strong against most of the Archeans. Smashers don't really have a chance against her, just because of her gadget. Along the lines with Zofia, actually. I'd say the order would be Zofia, Ela, Doc. I think that would be the order here. Finka, I'm going to say she's more on the lower side, because her healing boost doesn't really help too much. I have less experience with this operator. I will fully admit I have less experience with this operator. But her healing boost is temporary. With upgrades, it can give your unit or your squad a maximum of 30 health as a boost. But it's only 30 health between everyone. So everyone gets 10 to 12 health. And that's only if they're close to Thinker that they'll get that health. Which is a little weird. She can also self-revive, which does bring her up a bit. So maybe... But I don't think that helps her enough. Her weapons aren't the best also. She can use the Russian AK, I believe, if I remember correctly, which does help her out a bit. But her other weapons aren't that great. That is very weird. I did some testing with Finka because she's one of the operators. I actually don't know what to write for, honestly, when I'm doing my my actual profiles on each of them, my React files. Yeah, she's just in C tier for that sake. I think she's probably... I'm going to say she's below Capital, because I honestly don't use Finka that much. I don't think her benefit with the recoil buff and the health buff is that useful that quickly. She's good on defense missions, and having that buff like quickly on defense missions is great, but it doesn't last all that long, which lets her down a little. Now, Fuse. Fuse I've actually took a liking to, but I think he's B tier just because his gadget requires on the map. It relies on the map around him. He's great on, like, confined spaces. He's the only operator you would pick if you kind of know the map's a small map, rather than based on just the objective. And he's also an operator you'd pick on defense, more than anything. He's great on decom as well. His faster reinforcement speeds means you can get the cluster charge out quickly, and you can set up ambushes. But honestly, because he has to rely on a soft wall, or a reinforcement, or a barricade, it lets him down a little with his gadget and his just versatility, which is why I think he belongs in B tier. Gridlock, also a B tier operator. I'd say she's a bit better than Fuse here, just because her gadget is really good. I say she's probably even better than Alibi. Her gadget at level 10 stops smashers, which is huge. Her gadget also can deal with grunts fairly effectively. It can deal with spikers, but it only deals with spikers when they're far away or coming around a corner, so you have to play around that, which does reduce some of the versatility she has. Weapons, honestly not the best. I don't particularly like any of the weapons she has, even Mozzie's ones. The secondary shorty, honestly, I wouldn't take on mission most of the time, just because I like having the suppressed pistol. Just for those stealth incursions, because it's required if you're doing something like nest tracking or whatever. You can swap it out if you haven't got any of those missions, but honestly, it's just better to have the pistol. More bullets to get more headshots, insta-kills. It just makes sense. So that's why she's in B tier for me. Hibana, probably our first A tier operator. I will say this because she is amazing at decontamination. She's really good at stopping huge enemies like smashers. She can deal with an apex with her gadget. She can deal with a lot of the big threats. The only thing letting her down is that she's a fast operator, but she's slow at using her gadget. She's very slow at using the X-Kairos launcher, and it's her primary weapon. Essentially, it takes the place of her primary weapon. She has to switch to it, which lets her down. She would be so much better if she could deploy that quickly, but I know why that's not the case. It makes sense that she has to use the gadget, but I wish she could deploy it a bit faster. Gaps between shots are reduced when she's leveled, which helps her a bit. But honestly, you're not going to have the opportunity to take out an Apex quickly unless it's unaware of your position or a teammate's holding it in place with a stun grenade of some sort. Like Ella, for example. Ella would have to be holding the Apex in place so she could deploy enough Cairo pellets to destroy it. So that's why she's at A tier, not S tier. If she could switch the weapon, switch back and forth much quicker, that would be great. She would probably be up here. Probably still be behind Doc, but she would probably be up here. IQ, this operator, I think, needs help. Her scanner only detects objectives, which is good if you're in a rush, but you're not really in a rush at any point. The game gives you enough time to do most of the objectives anyway, even in Maelstrom of the last zones. So finding the objectives, yeah, that's convenient, but it's not efficient and not going to help you in the long term of the mission. Finding spores and sower mines and just general lurkers, tormentors is good. She can also detect apexes and smashers. That's good. But she can't detect basic enemies that are grunts or spikers, even if they're cloaked. The fact that she can detect cloaked enemies from lurkers, I feel like should allow her to detect any cloaked enemy. It does not currently. She only can detect lurkers while they're cloaked. And smashers and apexes because they're on the list of enemies she detects. So yeah, if you're in a room with a bunch of spikers who have been cloaked by like 2 lurkers in the room, she wouldn't know those spikers are in the room. She would have no idea, and she would just enter in, and then you have to deal with that. Utility on mission, not the best. Just generally no real effect. Some good intel, but could be more. Could definitely be more. I think the fix for this operator, honestly, let her detect enemies that are cloaked, just in general. And that can be through walls, that can be anything. I think enemies that are smaller, allow her to detect them if she sees them visibly. So, say you see a grunt, or you see a breacher, or you see I think she detects rooters, below her. If she physically sees them with her scanner, she should be able to mark them, I think. If they're through a wall, then I understand that wouldn't be a mark. I think that would help her to actually be in line with some of the other operators. Jaeger. I'm going to put Jaeger probably at A tier. This operator is great. I'm going to put him in front of Hibana, actually. This operator is great at defense missions. He's generally useful in most mission types. The only ones he's not really as useful in is like specimen or biopsy and nest tracking. I say this because his ADSs are made to kill, and also will alert enemies. Given they will lure them to a place to be alerted, but they will alert enemies. So yeah, his gadget can sometimes jeopardize the mission if you're doing specimen or biopsy in particular, because the ADS system will just keep going until it kills the enemy. Which with an elite target is not great, because you want to actually just hold those enemies for a bit. You have to move fast to either pick up the gadget or take down the enemy, or press the button on the specimen tab to actually complete the mission at that point. I'll get onto Vigil in a little bit. Skipping is really good stuff. Slow gameplay, level 10 can share ability with team, but yeah. I actually do agree with that. I will cover that in just a second. There's a few more things I actually want to talk about Vigil. Let's go to Lion. How do I feel about this operator? I think he's in... It's between B and A. I think he's close B, not quite A. It's literally because his gadget doesn't work on cloaked enemies in general. Even when they're moving. Amazing on defense. Actually, do you know what? I'm going to put him to low A. Because I think he's great on missions just when things are crazy. Like, just keeping track of all enemies, like big enemy types, apexes that are running away, the Protean. Just in general. Keeping track of enemies is really important in this game, and he just helps the squad. He's one of the operators you can always take on mission, and he's just generally helpful. And the 417, honestly, is really good. Like, I love the 417. Anything else I can say about this operator? Just has the scan going for him, it recharges. He doesn't require operator abilities. I might put him just past Hibana, because I think he's a little bit more useful than Hibana. But that's how I feel about that operator. Not as much to talk about, but his gadget is simple, it works, it's easy. Solid A tier, just generally a good operator. And like these guys at C tier, they're not abysmal. Like they're not bad. They're just, they could be better. They could 100% be better. Nomad. I am probably going to put Nomad. Where am I putting Nomad? I'm probably going to put you with Gridlock, but I'm going to put you in front of Gridlock, because you can do a little bit more than this operator. The reason I do that is because, so her base one, her base air jab does just knock enemies back. At higher levels, she can actually delete the enemies in place. Routers and below all get deleted. Works on spores, works on... That's the thing, I didn't mention with Jaeger. That works on spores too, that's really good. So yeah, Nomad's air jab works on spores, works on any utility that the actual Archeans have. The thing is, her stun is only for a short time, which is why she isn't in A. So the stun effect it gives on bigger enemies is only for a short amount of time. She would be a little bit higher if she could actually stun enemies for longer, like Ela can. Like, Ela can hold the enemies for a full 10 seconds. It's nice that it's under barrel, so you can deploy it quick, and you can deploy it in literally a straight line. It does add to her versatility. Yeah, generally her weapons feel very samey, but that's just gameplay. Honestly, it doesn't really matter what you take. ARX or the AK assault rifle are really good. But that's how I feel about Nomad. Pulse. Now, Pulse, I think, is really good in general. I think he's probably low B tier. Probably above Fuse. Probably above Alibi. And I say that because of his last ability, where when he's scanning things, everyone around him becomes a full-speed operator. That's really helpful. Having intel on every nest in the zone is really helpful. Just in general. Because his heartbeat sensor can detect every nest in essentially the zone up to 45-meter range, which is huge. I think it's 45. Could be more. I haven't got the actual thing in front of me right now. But this is just going off memory. Good weapons. So yeah, I think I mentioned mostly what Pulse can do. In decom, he's great at just getting quick intel on the actual decontamination site, especially if things go south. Which that can sometimes happen. You'll have just a rogue Archean howl, and then all the decom nests will start spawning things. Taking a frag grenade with this operator makes him even more effective, because you can get nests from really far away or through a wall, or if they're carapace nests, it's great. He's just generally a useful operator, but he's B tier just because he doesn't have much else going for him. He's literally just that specified to one job, sort of thing, which is marked cooler than this. It's intel. It's good. But the trappers do a little better than him, and these guys do a little better, I think. Rook. Now, I'm a little biased to Rook because he's one of my favorite operators. I think I'm going to leave Rook in S tier just because his armor. So, at max level, it provides what? Is it 40%? I think it's 40% damage resistance. So, Rook, I think, is really amazing. 40% damage resistance base. You do not need to bring armor. I can't express this enough. You do not need to bring armor when Rook is on the team. He is your armor. You can bring any other utility, and the fact that he allows that is amazing. Armor is really useful. I think armor is one of the most useful gadgets if you have a solid team and you have a team that's going to back you up. Otherwise, if you don't know your team, I'd say take a revive kit in most cases, depending on your armor level. But he allows you to take that revive kit without worrying. He allows you to take things like a recon drone or the react turret, stuff like that. Which makes him really useful because when you go down, the armor takes the down, you lose that armor, you can't go down anymore, but you can just pick up an operator kit with this operator, deploy the armor again, your teammate then picks up that armor, they're able to go down again now. They've got armor, and they've also got the benefit of having another down but out state. That keeps you in the game, especially in things like Maelstrom, which is why I find him really useful. And just, if he's an option on Maelstrom, I will most likely take Rook. Honestly. 417, amazing DMR, does a lot of damage. You can take down a lot of enemies before they even get a chance to howl, especially if you're being, like, even if you're being aggressive, you can take out the enemies and stealth through the mission before they even get a chance to make a noise. He's just generally a good operator, and if you're advancing with a team, you're working with a team, you can do a lot with him. Sledgy, I don't know how I feel about you, friend. I haven't had as much experience with Sledgy. I think I literally got him to level 10 and stopped playing him as much. I think he's going in C tier. I think he's going to be below Capital. Probably above Finker. Now, Sledge is good to generally holding enemies. Great for biopsy, stuff like that. Just generally stunning an enemy. But the problem is he has to get close to the enemy. And getting close to most of the Archeans in this game is a bad thing. But he has his benefits. He can deal with smashers fairly easily, but if there's multiple smashers, he'll have a lot of trouble. Not really effective against the protein in any way. Tormentors will just run away from him, honestly. Apexes, you can't touch them with the sledgehammer because of their force field. There's no physical way to take down an Apex. So he just sort of has to fight it like a recruit would. Sadly, there's not as much going for this operator as there could be. Which is funny, because I think the Protean version of Sledge is the strongest. I think the Protean Sledge is by far the strongest, just because that shockwave and the fact that he has armor when he's on low health. Things that could probably improve Sledge. I mean, if I was going unrealistic, that shockwave type idea. If I was going more realistic, just make him a 5 armor operator. Like 5 armor, 5 speed. Like, make him more mobility. Make him the melee class that he should be. Because he can swing that hammer pretty quick. Give him the defense and the speed to play like that. He's great for taking out nests. Because he can do the takedown animation a lot quicker. Generally, he's just great for stealth. Because the sledgehammer acts as like a takedown, but it's a quicker version. He just struggles when things go loud and he's got a lot of enemies around him. He does need help at that point from operators who can do a little bit more than he can. Smoke, I'm going to put probably just behind Alibi here. Actually, I think he's more effective than Nomad. Tell you what, I'm going to put Smoke on A tier. And this is because he does have the perk to allow him to... He has Resilient Revival, This allows him to revive based on getting kills on Archeans while downed. That's a really useful perk. It works with the gas grenade. So if you actually down and the gas grenade is going off killing enemies, you can actually revive yourself from that. So you can do a last hurrah thing if you for sure know you're going to go down. His gas grenades at high level mark enemies. I don't remember if he recharges. I think he does. But the fact that his gas grenades scan enemies as well as stunning them, stopping them in place, damaging them, cutting off the line of sight, he does quite a lot, and he's just generally useful to have. He shines on defense. He also works on decom. You can smoke out the some sort of throwing ability. That would be amazing. I would actually really like that. Some sort of throwing ability for the hammer too. That would be pretty funny. The only annoying part is picking it up again after that point. But yeah, I wouldn't mind that. Yeah. So smoke is just generally useful. The fact that he can do quite a lot, like with the decom nests, he can cover a few nests with just a gas canister. He can pre-place that and shoot other nests, then detonate it, get the sample, get out with his team. Rescue missions. I don't remember if his gas canisters actually make breaches explode. I don't think they do. So I think for rescue missions, he's just generally a good entry operator. Just for like gassing out the room, stunning everyone in the room, just grabbing the rescue mission, getting out. He's just generally a good ambush operator and a great utility versatile operator. Tachenka. Tachenka is probably A tier in my opinion. I feel like his turret is useful not only for defense, but also a lot of attacking missions as well. He can stun smashers with his turret if you shoot them enough. He's great for taking down apexes and just generally keeping enemies at bay. So your team can take down an apex. I haven't had much experience with him against the Protean. I don't know how useful his turret will be there. I don't think it would be as useful. But generally just defending an objective, and he can put like because he has 2 turrets at level 10, he can put someone like Doc on another turret. And Doc can just heal himself, revive his teammates from a stationary position where he can see everyone in the objective. Like, there's a lot of these operators that'll benefit Tachenka. There's not really a bad pick with Tachenka because everyone sort of helps him out. I'd say probably Sledge doesn't help him as much. Maybe Vigil doesn't help him as much. But like, Alibi helps Tachenka, decoys. Hold enemy back. General intel on nests, shoot them through walls. Lion, see the enemies. Hibana, take out big enemies so Tachenka doesn't have to worry about them. Like smashers, he's just stunned. Smoke, just generally dealing with enemies, also scanning them. Jaeger, you can put them by the turret and just hold back. He works with everyone. His gadget surprisingly works with everyone. It's probably the best place for his mounted turret in this game. The reason he's not top tier is because after the turret's gone, he doesn't really have much going for him. He doesn't have these perks that allow him to, per se, self-revive or, like, do much else. He's very much based around his turret, and you can play around that as well. Vigil, the last operator. Now, this guy's best for solo incursions. I'd say, if I was just talking solo, this guy would be up here. But I'm talking in general, so I'm actually going to put him behind Tachenka here. Probably behind Lion as well. Vigil's level 10 ability used as a team is amazing. I feel like it would help him if his teammates could take every action and still be cloaked. Even if Vigil couldn't do the same, because any action that Vigil makes, like sprinting, shooting, don't know if barricading counts. I think it might. But generally, any action he takes cancels the ERC disruptor, which means enemies can see you again. Also, another like weird thing with Vigil: if enemies are close to you and you're using the disruptor anyway, they'll still see you. For sometimes, like it's a little inconsistent. So yeah, if I was just talking solo, he's great for solo incursions just because you can like cloak through, progress slowly, do the objective, get out without with minimal engagements. Like you don't even if the enemies get alerted, you can just still stealth around them with his gadget. Um the thing that lets him down is the inconsistency and the team working aspect. He would be at top tier if I was just talking about solo, but he would also be top tier if I was talking about like his gadget working alongside those animations, so alongside teammates shooting. Um, but if a teammate shoots, they're no longer cloaked, which means the enemy goes to them, which then uncloaks Vigil himself and then his other teammate, and it's just a domino effect at that point. You have to be working in a more organized team to use Vigils really effectively. So yeah, that's my opinion on a tier list. And this is my final tier list. So at S tier, we've got Ela. Just generally amazing gadget. I'll go through these briefly again. Generally amazing gadget. Recharges. Can use it aggressively or defensively. Doc. Stims. Operator charges. Can keep healing team. Can heal down but out state. Can heal himself as many times as he's got stims. Like, generally good. Rook. Like, Rook's armor allows you to go down again. Not much I really have to say after that. 40% defense bonus allows your teammates to take other utility other than just armor. Jaeger. Something I actually didn't mention with Jaeger. Jaeger's ADS also counters the Archean tree as well for MIA missions. So if you're ever on an MIA mission and you want to do it quick, you can put both the ADSs by the tree and it will just take them out. Like, it will take out the surges as you pull out the operator. And this is on multiplayer or solo. So depending on how you're playing it, you can really do work with that. His gadget's just amazing. Great trap gadget. Great utility trap gadget. Sledge is really useful with armored nests. That is true. Sledge is useful with armored nests. Very true. Tachenka. Mounted turret. Honestly, reason he's up here is because he works with literally everyone on the team. Mostly everyone. I'd say probably the only ops he doesn't work as much with are Vigil, Pulse, and Sledge. But yeah, his mounted turret is just useful and it's living its best life in Rainbow Six Extraction. Vigil, great solo operator, also just a great way to get out of an engagement. Good with objectives, especially stealth ones. Generally useful gadget. Would be further up if there was a few tweaks though. Lion, just good intel, can help a lot of his team. A great pick, even if you don't know your own team. Even if you don't know your own team, like, he's just generally useful. A great pick at any point. Like, Lion and Brook are great picks at any point. Tachenka also a great pick at any point. Hibana, really good damage. Really amazing utility. Can act as a breacher if you need her to. Amazing for decontamination. Could take out big targets. The only thing letting her down is the speed of the X-Kairos launcher. It's a little slow switching to back and forth to it. It's a little slow trying to catch one enemy with it as well. If it's like an Apex that's running away, you might not catch him in time. Smoke. The reason he's up here is because his Z gas mines actually scan targets as well as do damage to them and cut off sight lines. Generally useful on a lot of the defense missions. Just a good op in general. Nomad, air jabs, do damage, take out utility, deal with spores, mines, stuff like that. It doesn't have as much stun on larger targets as Ela does. And it won't like lock enemies in place as much as Ela or Smoke will. So that's what holds this one back. But it's just nice to have the quick deployment of the air jab. And the fact that it does deal with targets after a while, it makes noise as well, so it will alert enemies to that position. Gridlock, just general good defense. Can deal with smashers at level 10, because the track stingers actually explode at that point when they're destroyed. But realistically only really good at defense. You can place them on missions like Hunt and Biopsy, but they're not going to do as much unless you have it specified to the map. Like, she's held back by her maps. Spikers won't actually go into these if they're just shooting you. So you want to place them around corners. You want to play around with that a bit more. She's definitely a lot harder to use, an operator and trapper. Pulse, just generally good. Level 10 ability allows him to scan things and give his teammates a speed boost. He can scan most of the subzones, so you can literally see all the nests straight away. Amazing for certain objectives, but that's sort of all he's got going for him. Decontamination, also really good if things go south. Alibi, amazing operator. Another thing I didn't mention with Alibi, you can actually place the alibis on decom nests, like the actual decoys on some decom nests, and that will essentially destroy that nest in some cases, because some of the decom nests will spawn breaches, which will just go towards the alibi and decide to explode, and they'll blow up their own nest at that point. Generally useful gadget. Probably going to move her past Pulse, actually. I think she's a little better than Pulse. Great for intel, great for holding back the enemy, can support a lot of the other operators. Not as useful in the case that she can't really stealth with her gadget. Like, once her gadget's seen by an Archean, they'll howl, which will make all the nests activate, which is what lets her down. It makes sense why this is a case, but that's kind of why she struggles a bit. Great when enemies are active, though. Fuse, he's limited by the map. Just generally placing reinforcements, stuff like that. You have to have some sort of surface to use his gadget. Otherwise, he's generally great for defense missions or pre-planned placements. Those placements can get ruined by enemies like breaches, though. And I'll go through briefly these bottom ones. So Capital, similar to Smoke, except doesn't scan enemies. Has a little bit more versatility. You don't have to worry about just killing your target. If it's Biopsy, you don't have to worry about damage to the target. But he's at C tier because he doesn't really have much else going for him. Sledgy, just a melee operator who struggles a bit with a lot of enemies. Thinker, healing boost, but it's only temporary. When she's at max level, that healing boost goes up to 30 permanent, but that's only for the whole team. So it will heal like 10 to 12 health for everyone else. And that's if they're close to her. And the boost is not long enough, honestly. IQ, this operator just needs help. She needs to be able to scan cloaked enemies no matter what type of enemies they are. And I feel like she needs to be able to scan basic grunts and basic enemies if she can see them. Just for her team. I know you're probably going to shoot them most likely if you see them at that point, but if they take you down, like, that's extra intel your teammates can work with. But yeah, that's roughly my tier list on the game.